Good morning. Just testing sound. If you could give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thanks, Vicky. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We got a few more minutes before we get started, but just a note that the recording does start automatically on the webinar, so it will be posted to our website as usual after the several days after the recording is available. So keep an eye on our website if you need to share with anybody. Thank you. We'll start in a few minutes. For those that will be speaking today, do you want to just turn on your mics and say a word or two so we know that your mics are working, please? Thanks, Chandler.
Hello,
Testing.
Jocelyn.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
Hello, Jocelyn.
Hello. Thank you for that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get going. Just wanted to share a little bit about what the agenda looks like today. Thank you for attending. And we will be going over first some assessment guidance. Tracy's got a presentation for us. And yes, this is exciting because we're no longer requiring work plans. So she's going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to go over Equus and that we have some resources about EDDs on our website, and also some other stuff that we're going to talk about for potential training and the interest that you all might have in that for the Equus process. We're going to go over a new streamlined template BFA. This is very exciting, and Sharon's got a spot to talk about that. And then also Access DEQ, and we have moved to Access DEQ for acceptance of documents and applications, and we're going to have a little presentation about that. And largely what we're going to reserve a lot of time for is a roundtable Q&A. If anybody has any particular questions or thoughts, be glad to take that on. So I will turn it over to Tracy to start us out on the first agenda item, the assessment guidance. Thank you, Tracy.
Good morning, everyone. I got some folks waiting in the lobby, but I'm going to try and figure out how to share PowerPoint slides. So hopefully everyone is seeing that.
We got it, Tracy. Thank you.
Excellent. So I will go ahead and get started. As you all know, we talked about going away from a work plan and moving towards a scope of work for Brownfields site assessment. That minimum site assessment and reporting requirements checklist is up on our website. It was put up there in May last month. So now the process essentially is we reach out once there's an LOE for an starting project, or if you've already got a PM and you're working through an additional assessment, you would set up that scoping meeting with that project initiator or the project manager, and that can be set up. Typically, right now, Lauren is our project initiator, and that is going to transition to Chris Riddle in the next month or so, and they reach out with potential dates for that meeting. But what that looks like is tables and figures outlining the scope, and then that would also include the scope of work approval page where you all sign off on it, and then when DEQ approves it, either the project initiator or the project manager will approve that and sign off on that page. And then that report, based on that scope of work, gets submitted, and the expectation is that it will meet the checklist requirements. That does include submission of the EDD for laboratory data, and after I get done with this portion, I will transition over to Chandler to give some more information about that. And as is typical, if there's any deviations from the checklist, from the scope of work, that needs prior DEQ approval. The assessment checklist is pretty comprehensive with what the requirements are, but not every project needs those. Maybe this is a data gap, and then we would, revise the scope accordingly and approve it for that. And if the report does not meet the checklist, it will be returned. And, we typically, I don't know that we ever get a report where we don't have some revisions, but the expectation is hopefully that we get a reduction from, 3, 4, 5, 6 revisions, and we're on a 1 and 2 plan is the hope. Now, what this looks like in general, I wanted to cover an example of what that scope of work package might look like. So we would want to see a topo map with the site location, and an example of a site layout, having the Brownfields boundary identified, all of the properties that are included within the Brownfields property, and then if there's any relevant issues in the surrounding area, that's always good to include. And then what the proposed sampling, the samples are. This happens to be for soil sample locations. It is limited. There was already assessment done on the property, so this is more of a targeted scope of work. But identifying where those soil borings are going to be, and then also another one here with proposed soil gas and groundwater sample locations in addition to existing samples. But just outlining where those new samples are going to be located, and you're going to cover this in your scoping meeting, what DEQ is looking for, why we want to have soil or samples in particular locations, and then providing that within the scope. This one actually included a cut and fill plan, which is always beneficial to have. We don't always have those upon project initiation. If you do have it, it's definitely helpful to include so that we make sure that we're collecting soil samples across the cut horizon. So that's always helpful. If you have it, please do include it. If you don't, that's fine. We usually in the scoping meetings will discuss, is there going to be a cut and fill? What does that look like? Is there going to be import export? We try and cover all those bases upon initiation. And sometimes we just don't know exactly what it's going to look like until we get assessment data. And then one of the tables that we like to see is the proposed sampling summary, covering, what samples you're going to collect, the media, your objective, what are the depths going to look like, the analytical methods, and then QA/QC, just in summary fashion. And that is essentially what we're looking for with the new scope of work. And as I had indicated, we're moving to Equus and the EDDs, and I am going to now hand that off to Chandler to give us a little overview on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. Hey, everyone. My name is Chandler. I've been working at the DEQ for around 2 years now, 1 year as a temp and 1 year as a permanent employee. My primary goal has been to steadily integrate Equus into Brownfields workflow. I've been working with Ethan Brown a lot. If some of you are familiar with some of the other sections, they've used Equus for a while, and he's kind of at the forefront of all that. And why we're using Equus, sorry, is because with the EDDs that we receive through Equus, we can generate the Exhibit 2 tables that we need for our reports a lot faster. I mean, it's a matter of clicking a few templates that we make within Equus Professional and just applying them to the spreadsheets that we receive, and we have all the exceedances that we need to report, organized by location, sample type, etc. So it just makes that whole process flow a lot better. Takes a lot of time off of generating those reports. I don't know if everyone here is familiar with Equus. Those that are probably know the EDD submittal process. Those that are not, we wanted to get a head count of those that would be interested in attending a training session sometime next month and also sometime in November, to learn how to get those EDDs submitted, because there are multiple ways to do so, and some require making accounts within the Equus side of the DEQ. There are Equus accounts that you can do to submit the EDDs remotely to have them automatically put in, or you can just send them directly to us. So we wanted to get a head count of who would want to come to one of those training sessions.
If y'all could raise your hand or send a reaction, that would be great.
Yeah. Also, yeah, we have added okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands now. Let's see. All the templates, by the way, for the EDDs can be found on the statutes page of the Brownfields website. I'll share my screen with that right now. on the statutes and guidance page under the Brownfields redevelopment section of the waste management portion of the DEQ website. Scroll down here to agreements process, and the EQUITS formats and EDD templates can be found here. Once we host the training session, this will be really useful. Probably be coming to this a lot. I come to this a lot, and I work with EQUITS like every day. So
Yeah, it looks like we've got enough interest, I think, to schedule at least one in July. We're looking
Okay.
at mid-July. Yeah, because there was at least 10 people with their hands up. So
yeah, we wanted to have that be a month out to give people time to prepare.
exactly.
Okay. And for those that are watching the recording, who should we have them email if they want to get on board with the training session?
What we can do, Chandler, I think, is send an email notification out to the distribution list for this meeting that says, here's when we're scheduling said meeting, and they can choose to participate through that. So we can post it on our website, of course, but we can also send out an email to this email group. So
okay, yeah, sounds good. I also wanted to add that these EDDs will be required moving forward. It makes the whole process a lot easier, and we didn't want to we just wanted it to be like a blanket thing. They'll be submitted in addition to the signed and sealed final reports and not in lieu of them. So yeah, this is just going to become a part of the Brownfields process moving forward. I think that was everything I wanted to go over.
Okay.
Thanks. Do we want to have any, we were going to wait on questions till the end, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And then who's up next? Bruce, I'm not seeing the agenda anymore. Is it me?
I think you are. Yeah.
Okay, then it's me. Okay, well, very good. Hello, everybody. I'm Sharon Eckert. I am going to share 3 documents in the chat right now and talk with you all about one of the aspects of how we are re-envisioning Brownfields process to make it more efficient. We know everyone loves this process, but it takes too long, right? So one of the things we have done is we have generated a new template, and I will share my screen so you all can see that. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Up there.
Great. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about this template for a few minutes and this new approach. So much of the language in this new template is vetted Brownfield language, pretty much honed over the 29 years we've been in existence. And it includes multiple rounds of negotiation with various PD's attorneys and certainly in-house DEQ counsel. And most of the language is going to look very similar to what you have seen in the past, particularly the legal language, kind of paragraphs 9 and later. We have streamlined the document to include only those aspects that we feel are really necessary to comport with the statute. And these are discussed more fully kind of in this introduction. You can see we have kind of some introductory comments here. These are not meant to stay with the document once it's ready to go to public comment. That would be deleted. And the document kind of starts here. The Exhibit A, the first page of the actual Brownfield agreement is here. So one of the things that we've done is we've replaced the report table in the document with a link to Laserfiche with the project number. This is, those of you who have Brownfields kind of projects behind you know that this is how we point people on the summary notice of intent to the documents that we've used. So we decided that would be a very helpful thing to do here. We have removed a lot of the background information, the environmental summary tables, the discussion of the contaminants. You will not see that in here. We are giving voice to the Exhibit 2, and we're just going to let it speak for itself. And that Exhibit 2 is referenced also here in this introduction in the second page. So we have also reframed the discussion on what we added one definition of known site contaminants, and those are to mean those that are listed in Exhibit 2. And we have reframed how we talk about prospective developers in the document. So originally it was sort of a recitation of all the actions a prospective developer taken. When do they buy the parcel? When did they start work? Was it under an EP or not, et cetera, et cetera. It was a lot of factual stuff. It was a kind of a focus sometimes of a lot of negotiations back and forth. And really the whole purpose of that was really to say, okay, here's what the PD's actions were, and they still retained their eligibility, right? They got it at the beginning of the process and they're still eligible. And so we decided, why don't we just say that? So we have incorporated the actual definitions of a project developer into the agreement. We have also added some fee language to our fee options, depending what option you're in. And that is future evaluation of uses that modify the risk profile. So if you have non-residential use in your brownfield agreement and later you wish to do residential, that's going to be a future evaluation of use that's going to modify the risk profile, right? So we have some fee language that's been added there. And then the rest of it's pretty much the same. I'm going to scroll, so watch your eyeballs, to the last page. In the public comment section, we've made a few modifications. One where we want to insert the specific name of the newspaper that's used during public comment. That we'll know before public comment. And then these 3 highlighted items are actually going to be added after public comment is concluded. And it's we're going to make sure we're being factual with the signed document. We're going to wait until we're certain what day did public comment actually start and what day did it conclude. And we're going to make a statement as to whether or not a public meeting was held. So this is a little bit different in our process. This will be filled in here, the newspaper, but when it goes to public comment, it's going to have these highlighted portions here that your brownfield project manager will fill in before they provide it to Bruce for signature. So it's a little bit different of a process. We're going to try and have to remember that. So before it's signed, but that is, principally the differences here in the document itself. So we have used this new approach, this new form, this new template for a site in Durham as a pilot site, and this went very smoothly. It resulted in a draft brownfield agreement within 19 days after a decision was made to use this site as a pilot. And a completed brownfield agreement, including the 30-day public comment period, was achieved 3 months after that draft was sent to the PD. Now, it wasn't an easier site, didn't have a lot of complicating factors that some can, but we felt it was good, a really good pilot, and we appreciated the PD working with us on that. So here's how the template's going to work. So a brownfield project manager, like always, we're going to generate a draft brownfield agreement with this new template. And we're going to use the menu of land use restrictions and land use definitions. Those 2 menus I've also put in the chat. I'm not going to go over them because you've seen a lot of that language already. But we're going to use those menus to craft the brownfield agreement. So for land use restrictions for which there's only one option, we're going to load that into the agreement. And for land use restrictions that have more than one option, so for example, there's multiple options for soil, might be more options for VI, we're going to insert the one that we feel best fits the situation. Same with the land use definitions. When the draft brownfield agreement and Exhibit 2 have been prepared, we're going to send these to the PD team along with those menus for the land use restrictions and the land use definitions for the PD team to review. And so with this new template, the other thing that's coming is a new approach. So we are going to be limiting negotiations on the language to site-specific factual information. So whether it be the addition of some pertinent site facts that aren't in there, or correcting some inaccuracy that has been drafted in, or for circumstances where those instances which there are options to choose from for the definitions or the land use restrictions, and a PD might feel one is better than another, certainly we will we'll take that under consideration in the negotiation. But we are not entertaining other types of proposed edits on a site-specific basis. So instead, though, what we want to do is an annual basis. If there are proposed edits to template language, they may be submitted to our Brownfields legal counsel for consideration at that time. And we're looking at an annual basis. Don't think we have decided on when that would be. I'm thinking May or June of each year may be appropriate, because then we could perhaps issue, if necessary, a new template beginning with the state fiscal year. But that's the approach. So a lot of this information is discussed in this intro here. So after this meeting, you can able to take a look at this at your leisure. And of course, we're going to delete that introductory text, as I said, before it goes to public comment. So Brownfield project managers have started using this template, so you're going to probably start seeing these in the coming weeks. And they are reporting thus far much lower times needed to get a draft BFA done. So we're confident that this approach is going to assist us in getting into public comment and completing the Brownfields process more quickly, as it's just going to require less time to draft, review, and edit. And with that, I think we're going to hold questions to the end. And so it goes next to, I think, Access DQ. Is that right, Tracy and Lauren?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so I will also share my
Stop
screen
sharing.
here
Yeah.
and kind of give everybody an overview of what the external side of the portal looks like. So let me okay, so this is what consultants, PDs, attorneys will see whenever they sign in to the portal through their accounts. So this is the home page, same as over here on the side. So as a quick overview, under applications, you should be able to see all your pending applications. And then once a LOE is sent out, this is what it will look like at the very end. And this status does change as it goes through the eligibility process. But so basically, whenever it's in this status and LOE has been sent out, you should be able to see your project under permits and projects here. So this is my test application / agreement here. Okay, so then this is how you click into it. Okay, and this kind of just gives you an overview of project information, current status, and the notifications or tasks that the project manager or project initiator has sent out to you. And then there's invoices. So as you can see here, we have 2 work plans requested, which is kind of something I'm going to talk about here. So under assessments and requests, that's where assessments are submitted and go back and forth. So we have these listed here. So let's say this phase 1 and this phase 2 were submitted with the application. So these are here logged as received. But so we have 2 work plan records, or these will technically scope of work now, but it's still going to be under the work plan assessment type. But you see we made 1 inactive and then 1 return. So basically one thing we're seeing here is that a scope of work or an assessment report will be submitted under 1 record. So let's pull this up. So yeah, so here you were submitting it, the comments were returned. So let's say, yeah, so comments were returned on, let's say, the first submittal. And then for the second one, for the second revision, you submitted us a new one, you added a new one here. And then the issue is we kind of want everything to be submitted under 1 record so we can kind of track that back and forth. So we will often make this inactive so we can see on our end that this is the active one. This is the most recent one that we want to, show that we are working on currently. So on this one, comments have been returned. And we're trying to be more specific here. We're going to try to add these responses like, please see my email for additional comments. Please resubmit the revised scope of work under this same record so that you can, I think we are going to try to also make this more clear on the external side. But basically you would click in, you can see your comments. And once it's been returned to you, you can actually just go here next, and you can actually submit multiple reports or files under the same record. So, I mean, the existing one will show here. And then you can also, on top of it, submit a new one. You would just add a file. And they will all just show up there. And then you can update your notes. You know, this is actually now revision 3. And it would just go from there. And with that, it is, let me see here. If you refresh, this will eventually be received to the project manager. So through here, if we all focus on one record, you can see the current status. Everything is tracked to that one record. Same with like assessment reports for any back and forth. So yeah, we're just kind of pretty much asking for people to try and focus on keeping it in one. I mean, worst case scenario, we just make it inactive and we can focus on the new record. But yeah, just to make it easier, I would say we really want people to try and focus on that. And like we said, we'll try to make it more clear with these comments here. And then so another, I guess here for some more overview of what your side looks like. We also have the land use restrictions and help and support. This just goes to our page, the BRS page. But if you need any help with technical things here on this side, there's a contact page for the portal team. Also getting started guides, user guides. This can also show you how to upload those assessment reports or scope of works. I think that covers it. Just let me know if you guys have any questions.
Excellent. I think that's the end of the agenda, Bruce.
Yeah, I'll just say we're having a little bit of technical difficulty adding the template documents to the chat. So we'll find a different way if we are unsuccessful trying something else here to get that to you. Bruce, you're on mute. Is there anything else before we go to Q&A?
No, I'm thinking we're good, and I appreciate everybody attending. We'll go ahead right into the Q&A at this point. I know there's some questions. Let's take a look at Chuck Hoffman. I believe you have a question.
I have to allow his mic.
There we go. Oh.
Chuck, did you have a question or still raised from the poll?
No, still raised from the poll.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all are also welcome to type your questions into the chat and I can make sure they get read off for the recording. So that's fine too.
Okay, well, we were very much looking forward to implementing these streamlining things for a while now, both on the assessment work plan end and on the Brownfields agreement streamlining. We're doing that and very much look forward to the time savings that that's going to make for this, and appreciate everybody being here today so that you can hear that, and we will get the information out to you, as Sharon said, on the website in the not too distant future about the new template.
Bruce, there are now a couple of questions that have come through the chat.
Great, excellent.
Yep. So for the recording, because the Teams chat does not come through, I realized. There are a couple folks asking any updates on the proposed fee increases that were discussed at the last stakeholder meeting.
Yeah, those fee increases are still in the future, and we are focused on some other things at the moment. But I can tell you this, that we are not going to just jump up and surprise folks at the first of the next month or something like that. We will give ample time, a probably a months-long notice before we end up instituting those fees, and just. So yes, we haven't specifically set a start date for that, but there will be ample notice when that does come through. We're not just going to surprise folks.
The other question was, is there a list of the fees?
There's not as of yet a list of those fees that we have in place or plan to be in place. That is still in development. Thank you.
Next question is, are there any expected changes to the Brownfield statute in the legislative process? I saw a revised Brownfield statute language being circulated regarding taxes.
Yes, and S 387 is that bill that is in the legislature at the moment. So if you want to follow what S 387 is doing, that is where you can find it in the legislative website. And that bill does a couple things. It does make a clarification on the tax incentives that the folks are it clarifies that folks are eligible for the tax incentive even if they start their construction prior to obtaining the actual signatures on a brownfield agreement. That has long been the case in our process, but there were a couple of sites for which counties had looked at that and wondered if that was in fact the case. We have supported a couple of cases where that did come up from the counties in communicating with the counties that yes, that would be our interpretation of that, and so nobody in particular has been denied tax incentives, but that clearly was something that probably needed to be clarified under the law, and so this change does that, and it also makes um, uh, proposed changes to the fee section of the statute, 310.39, and we're hoping to get a simplification of the implementation of that. It previously had those fees at different points in the process that really don't make sense when you're looking at the brownfields process, and so we're just making sure that the statute lines up with the process as the program operates. So the moment of the second fee, which was talked about as being taken in by the program at the final report stage, it did not, we're removing that because we really don't accept the final report on all of those things that may be done after a brownfield agreement. So those are things that are clarifying in the nature of when fees are taken in by the program, and that is also in S387 as you move forward and look at it. I hope that answers the question.
Okay.
I think the fee increases that, and Pierce has asked a question in the chat here. Just let me answer that. And I think Pierce. I don't know if that is a specific reason, but I think what we're attempting to do here is understand what's taking place with the S387 and some other things. As we reconsider what those fees are, the specific question that you have asked along those lines about the streamlining measures. It's difficult at this point in terms of that to say exactly how much that's going to save, but I think we are looking at models that about the fees. Part of the process with the fees, though, was the point that the EPA grants that were provided that we sought and have been awarded to us from EPA with respect to implementation and monitoring and the operation of the property management branch are going away in 2027. So we do need to look towards making sure that we have that covered. And that was really part of that. And part of that also is just the sheer inflation from the last time that we increased the RN fee in 2008. So both of those factors far overwhelm any other thing that might be streamlining might be obtained from these fees. I mean, from the new Brownfields agreement. We're just trying to do what we can to make sure that the process takes as little time as possible. We want to make that process as efficient as possible.
Does
Okay, other
DEQ have an
questions?
opinion on how long the Brownfields tax exemption runs for future developments? I know you restart the 5 years on different phases of a development in question, but what about if the redevelopment is totally changed in 10 to 15 years? Do you get a whole new 5 years for the new project?
That is an interesting question, Carol, and I think that I don't have a specific answer for this at this particular point in time. We haven't necessarily had that occur, and so if that does occur and we have questions about it, I'm sure that we will look to council for that discussion to make that determination. I don't know that determination has been made by DOR. But I think, as with any of these things, I think the primary determinative entity for that will be the local taxing authority. Any other particular questions? All right, well, I appreciate you all's attendance today. With no further questions, I think we can consider this adjourned. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.